Thank you for joining in on this video. It's about Bill 23, which is one of the most significant changes in the legislation that impacts zoning like no other bill I've seen before. This was passed by the Ontario legislature at the end of 2022. Municipalities have really just caught up with the zoning and how to deal with what these changes mean to zoning, maybe a better way of putting it. And as a disclaimer, I have done a great deal of research to put this piece together, and I've done that so I can make it informative for you, give you a nice cursory overview. But like any sort of cursory overview, I recommend independent review with municipality for any property you're looking at. As a commercial realtor, we don't want to sell surprises. We want to sell property. So we always recommend you do your diligence. If you're going to acquire a property and conversion of that property is very important to you to make a duplex or a triplex from what was once a single family residential or a new build, definitely put a clause and condition in. That's what we do, so you can do your review with the municipal planning departments and be assured that you can do what you want to do to the best of your ability. Okay, and again, from the standpoint, this is one of my sample emails. If you would like a copy of the report, I'll either have a link or reach out to me if I do not, and I'll get you a copy of this presentation, and you are welcome to use it for further review. This is just one of the many emails that I sent off to city and town planners asking questions about, just to confirm what I read in the legislature and how it applied. Can you convert a single family home to 2 units to 3 units? Well, the correct answer to that question is it's as of right zoning. As of right means it is your right to do this. It doesn't mean you can do it right away, but what does the as of right in general sense of the word apply? Bill allows up to 3 residential units per lot in most residential zones without needing a zoning bylaw amendment, effectively enabling the conversion of single family homes up to 3 individual units or 2 units in the residence with 1 detached unit. This is major legislation. The as of right means you can override zoning. Now, the cautionary note is, just because this bill is passed doesn't mean you can walk in and start chopping properties up. There's guidelines and municipal bylaws that have to be found. So there's always details to be ascertained and review, and that's what due diligence is all about. But in a general sense, the previous process of converting a single family residence to a duplex or a triplex was extremely onerous. It required public meetings, more diligence in planning, site plan work, far more time, far more planning, and last but not least, far more variables of the outcome being acceptable to what you were desiring to have happen or not, based on all of those factors, least of which is largely the public input to the process. So as of right means you can do it as long as you meet the general prerequisites of that zoning bylaw that you're working in, and that's where that municipal review is critical to the process. Part of the bylaw, there was some rumors about fourplexes being part of it. When they looked at this, they decided a fourplex would be an overreach and just basically dropped it to a triplex or a duplex in terms of the application of the bill. So the fourplex is gone. Rural areas, the jury's out on rural areas. You've got many more factors into rural areas. I'm just going to cover a couple brief points. One is a rural property typically has its own septic system, and it has usually a drilled well, or sometimes, in some instances, they have municipal water and the septic system for their sanitary treatment. These septic systems are designed for the number of bathrooms and sinks within the facility as it was probably built. So if you're going to suddenly convert a rural property, there's much more conditions that apply, and I'm not 100% on the conversion factor. So I would say more diligence applies to rural. I always check, never hurts to find out, but I think the general intent of this and where the bill really has its best application is in more urban, fully serviced applications. So number one, that as of right is huge to the zoning to convert a property from a single family to a duplex and a triplex. It also means when we talk about single families, zones, and let's say realtors that aren't in the know get asked a question, is this a single family area? I think we have to be very cautious on how we answer that, because Bill 23 has changed how that could be and what could happen next door, and it's created a huge number of applications within that zone. A good example might be is if you've got family members who have a elderly family member or a child in the family that wants to have a place to live and can't find something affordable, the parents have the opportunity to do a drop-in housing. And I think modular housing is a huge a very interesting market for those units to be dropped in where the bylaw allows it. Whole other story, but I have taken a look. I find that whole sector extremely interesting, but it certainly is a game changer on the number one point in terms of that zoning, converting single-family residences into duplexes, triplexes, or duplex with one detached unit. Huge. Number two, as the slides up here, development charge exemption and savings. This is also huge. Tens of thousands of dollars. One of the things they always talk about, we want to, federal government says we want to create more affordable housing, we want this, but there's been all of these processes and planning and approval and time and input, and then there's these huge charges, tens of thousands of dollars before a shovel's in the ground to build anything. With the changes by Bill 23, normally a development charge would apply for the second unit, the third unit. It adds another $20,000, it depends where you are, to the cost of that unit to come on board. You put two more on, it's another $30,000 to $40,000. The Bill 23 basically exempts these units, removes that cost, making it even more attractive as an investment to get on the wagon and provide this needed housing and save tens of thousands of dollars in the process in development charges. And it got better. So the second and third unit are exempt. So the first unit definitely applies. The second and third unit doesn't apply. So if it's a new build, you're going to pay the development charge. If it's an existing structure, you're going to be exempt on that additional unit because it's already factored into the property. Any residential unit created an ancillary structure, parcel land, or whatever, same thing applies. So if you're going to do that drop-in housing, it doesn't apply. So you don't have to pay the development charges, tens of thousands in savings. Another factor to development charges, which greatly add to the cost of housing, was the change of phasing in development charges. So by example, if you're doing a property in the GTA, it might be $85,000 in dev charges for a property. Well, they've implemented a phase-in process. So if the development charge legislation, which is updated, I believe it's every 4 years by the municipality where they set their rates, if that development charge was set in 2022, well, there's a 5-year phase-in. If the development charges were passed before 2022, this phase-in doesn't take place until the next time the bylaw is passed. So you're not going to get the saving unless the municipality is elected to do that. And I guarantee you they're probably not apt to do that. So there is a tiered discount as well this is more applicable to the creation of apartment units. So never been a better time to build multifamily housing to meet the housing crisis and the residential rental demand, where these vacancy rates are extremely low because we don't have enough supply for the market. There is a break depending on the unit, whether it's a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, on the development charges for the larger unit application. This also, I made a note here, might be tied into a 25-year covenant. So they're not going to give you the development charge unless you covenant not to do anything but maintain that as residential housing for 25 years. It will depend on the municipality, but what they're trying to avoid is passing these savings on to you, and then you convert your building to a condo and sell your units off, which defeats the intent of what the rental creation was in the first place. So it may come at a price, but it will save, again, for these larger units, it can be hundreds of thousands of dollars that are saved by developers that are doing larger scale developments. Notwithstanding, there is one more outside of Bill 23, which has been the recent change in legislation by both the federal and provincial governments, basically removing the additional cost of the HST for the developers of, again, rental housing stock in the marketplace. Never been a better time to build this stuff. Number 3, reducing the scope of site plan control approvals, including exempting residential buildings containing no more than 10 units from site plan control. If anybody's gone through a site plan control process, it's open to a public meeting, there's a planning meeting. Some people would come from miles around just to comment on they don't like your windows or what you've done for your treatment. So that part of the process has been removed. Again, expedites the entire planning process, making it much more efficient to get to where you want to go. Number 4, requiring municipalities to adopt zoning bylaw amendments that implement maximum densities and maximum heights around major transit stations. So this is about urban intensification where it makes sense to have it, less reliance on automobiles, lowering the carbon footprint, and providing greater intensification of housing in areas that would normally have it. So you get the ability to create higher densities within, higher heights, And this is significant. Each municipality is unique and different to it. But if there's a major hub, you want to look at what you can do around that, because things may have changed from what they previously were based on the implementation of Bill 23 and how it's been applied by municipalities to increase greater densification in urban transit hub areas, which makes perfect sense. Right to appeal restricted. So a lot of people, anybody could appeal anything, and it just created a lot of bottlenecks. So they narrowed it down for the appeal to be third parties for official plans, plan amendments, zoning bylaws. And I'll say one of the greatest inhibitors to the housing crisis has been the planning, which if you look at any city, and I deal in this at all cases, and a lot of times what you'll see is onerous developments. It's almost anything that's built has got a variance, a zoning bylaw amendment, so the developer can actually develop it and make economic sense of the model to do it. So they've got rid of, at least from the appeal standpoint, the right to appeals is much more condensed in terms of those that can have input. And again, the intent of this is to expedite the process of getting housing approved for development. So that's my top 5 reasons. There's much more to Bill 23. I close with what I've put in here to meet the requirements of copyright. I'm a photographer by hobby, so all these pictures I've used my own, and I end this one with my little grizzly bear looking off into the forest by some aspen trees. So I hope you found this informative. Bill 23 is absolutely a game changer for zoning. The as of right inference to the bill is huge. You still want to do due diligence, but there's a huge opportunity for the creation of duplexes and triplexes that you never could create before in single family zones. And it is truly a game changer in the marketplace. And I wanted to do a video to highlight the reasons why. I hope, again, you found it informative. My name is Patrick Hulley. I am a co-owner of Remax Rise and a partner in your Realty group. And I focus in commercial real estate along the Eastern Corridor, and I welcome the opportunity to assist you with your commercial real estate needs. And again, I hope you found this informative. Thanks for viewing.